Hello guys, welcome to today's video. In today's video we're going to see about improper resource balancing, improper resource loading or overloading or underloading with jeopardizing the project schedule and then the timeline. So we can solve this with help of two solutions. One is resource leveling and resource smoothing. In first place, we would see why such problems arise in a project and how we can avoid them in first place, and then go into, once there is a resource imbalance, then we can think about how we are going to apply the resource leveling and smoothing in our project. So to begin with, so the best way to avoid resource imbalance in the project is by doing proper scheduling, and before that, proper work breakdown structure. A good project manager basically understands the list of all work activities to be done in the project, and based on which he is deriving a proper effort estimation, and based on this estimation he is coming up with a network diagram like a Gantt chart, or with a proper critical path planning and so on. So once this is done, and in spite of that there is some external factors due to which we have improper balance of load on employees. Let's say there is an epidemic or there is a pandemic, and due to which, or external reasons due to which, one of the resources or multiple resources are out of office, and then the other engineers are overloaded to work. Now it becomes the job of the project manager to ensure the project runs smoothly and then the colleagues are not overloaded. So in this example we see here, we have a project team, and then we actually have 5 engineers, and then the 5 engineers are loaded not so equally and smoothly during a project week, and 2 of these colleagues, engineer 1 or employee 1 and employee 2, are overloaded, and there is some slack for the colleagues. So now it's up to the project manager how we can reduce the load here and then balance the team's overall work output. So the two approaches to this, one is resource leveling. This is a case in which he tries to bring in another colleague, another employee here, and then reduce the workload from these employees and adds up to them and somehow balances this. And there is another way, the second way is smoothing. In this way, first one of leveling, you see that the critical point is that you see we need an additional employee to level it. In case of smoothing, now the point is that we have just the same number of employees, but we break down the tasks in such a way that we try to assign the tasks and then break down into smaller chunks, and it's given to different colleagues. And one more important point to see here is regarding the timelines. So if the same amount of task is being done in leveling, you see, if you say take x-axis as the timeline, you see to finish these activities you need additional timing here. Yeah, but in case of smoothing, we reorganize the tasks, all the tasks of colleagues, in such a way that we still trying to do it in the same timeline. Yeah, so in case of smoothing, you don't jeopardize the deadline of the project, and then you are safe. And in case of smoothing, where you think the hours of the employees as a criteria, as the main criteria, and then you slightly modify the deadline. So these are the two ways. Now, as a project manager, it's up to you to, based on your criticality of the project and agreements with the customer and timeline, to decide what exactly you would like to achieve and what is kind of the resource balance that you want to bring in the project. So some brief comparisons. So in case of leveling, this is used when there is a resource shortage of resource availability, or there is a high constraint on the resource. So if you want to cut this off and then you have an additional resource, so you use leveling. And then you also kind of overdo the timeline. And in case of smoothing, you have a constraint, which is a duration. You cannot cross this deadline. So therefore you balance the load in between employees in such a way that on a certain timeline you finish the project. And project end date in case of leveling may change, and the project date in case of smoothing will not change. the overall project could be delayed in case of leveling, and in smoothing it won't be delayed. So I've been speaking all this time about leveling and smoothing. Now let's see how we can reorganize, break down this work here. So some of the major techniques are like you remove some less important tasks, or you reprioritize your task, and you kind of, as I said, you allocate additional resources to the project, and you split the existing tasks in such a smaller modular chunks that it can be some part of it could be done later, some part of it can be done immediately, and then you bring some tasks forward, send them some tasks backward, and so on, and then find alternative resources. These are the techniques. Yeah. To continue with the comparison of leveling and smoothing, leveling can be done to activities on the critical path. You have a critical path, therefore you bring additional resources so that the critical path is not jeopardized. Yeah. And smoothing cannot be done on critical path, so it has to be finished on a certain date and it has to be done. And this leveling is always done when the resources are over allocated or overloaded. Yeah, so that's when exactly you use leveling. Use smoothing when, in most cases, when you are unevenly allocated. Then you can also use smoothing, not just and then you have a deadline in mind, and then there is a smoothing required. So in short, you use either of this one technique, or in real life you practically use both of them. A real project manager will always consider including both of them in order to get the project running smooth, not jeopardize the timeline, and not overload the colleagues, and keep the balance on the team. Everybody is equally loaded. So that's how you achieve the resource balance. Thank you guys, thanks for watching this video, and then I wish you a good day, and then see you in the next videos. Bye bye.